Dumb Husky and his white cat Shizun. Extra chapters. Modern setting. Only possibility. Part 1, now turning to spoof. I thought I was playing a multi-role love development game that could be explored, but I didn't expect that this game could only have one ending forever. Selected from a failed mission report by Xuemeng. Xuemeng was eating the penultimate piece of coconut milk red bean cake on the plate. He had to be careful. He used a plastic spoon to cut a slice along the edge of the red bean cake, making a precise estimate with a steady hand. He wanted to preserve as much integrity of the cake as possible, but unfortunately half of it had been tainted by the mango mousse served in the same dish. He hated mango as much as he hated his job at the Protection Bureau of the Cultivation World. It's a pity that he has to do it. This is the 21st century and the stupid son of a family of cultivators had to go out to work in order to support himself. Mission report, Mr. Xue. A dry mechanical female voice came from the headset. Xuemeng rolled his eyes. Since the Time and Space Protection Bureau transferred a new director surnamed Zhang, task reporting has become a must-do every day. Cough, I arrived at the office at 8:20 today, and I was not late. I bought a takeout of Master Li's fried rice in the morning. It's really good. I encouraged all my colleagues to try it when you have time. The secret, I think, is that the old man who sells the fried rice is really kind and nice. He has nice words for everyone. He could even call a 60-year-old aunt a little sister with a shameless face. After eating the fried rice, I will start stamping. This is why Xuemeng hates his job. Yes, stamping. It was a long story and it was his father who is to blame. Xuemeng's father, Xue Zhenyang, was the chairman of the International Cultivation Bureau. As the chairman's only precious son, Xuemeng has lived as a star since he was a child and no one dares to offend him. Even the diapers he used were of such high quality that they were silky and breathable without causing prickly heat. Such a young master in the cultivation world naturally had a smooth life. After graduating, he went directly to work in the Protection Bureau of the Cultivation World. On the first day of work, he was personally received by the director. The director at that time was called Nangong Lu, a fair, plump middle-aged man who could sweat profusely when he climbed 2 floors. Nangong Lu kindly held Comrade Xiao Xue's hand, shaking his pork belly cheeks while greeting him. "Oh, Xuemeng? You look exactly like your father. At first glance, he looks like his own son. How handsome." Xuemeng said, "Thank you for your praise." Nangong Lu cheerfully said, "Your dad and I have known each other for a long time. Let's not talk about gossip. Come on, Uncle will explain to you the work you need to do first." The fresh graduate student Xuemeng was still full of ambitions at that time, determined to contribute to the construction of a harmonious new world of cultivation and contribute his modest power, so he readily said, "Just say it, I will seriously complete the task you would assign." "Look, don't even have a second-generation pedigree, what a good boy." Director Nangong took a deep look at him, restrained his smile and said solemnly, "Xiao Xue, considering that you are from a family of cultivators, your conditions are outstanding. Therefore, even though you are Chairman Xue's jewel, we still decided to give you the hardest jobs." When Xuemeng heard it, he suddenly became spirited. "I like all kinds of challenging things since I was a child. In the past, everyone always took my dad's reputation in consideration and wouldn't let me do this or touch that." His eyes flashed. Lighting up, "Finally, it's over." Director Nangong patted him on the shoulder and gave a thumbs up, "Ambitious." Xuemeng asked, "Then what should I do?" Cough cough. Nangong Lu cleared his throat. "Generally speaking, this is a difficult task that no one in this bureau is capable of. It requires the person in charge to have extraordinary patience, precise judgment and crucial decision-making ability. Because every decision you make controls thousands of lives, there are a lot of lives that will be saved because of you, but there will also be many lives that could be lost because of you. He looked serious and his eyes were burning, as if a round of holy light was rising behind him. This is a chore on the front line. When you were going to work at the Time and Space Agency, your father urged me to find a comfortable and safe position for you, but after I read your resume, I felt that you were a good person. A good boy full of ambition. I can't disappoint the enthusiasm of young people, so after careful consideration, I handed this errand to you. The director said, stretched out a hand and poked at Xuemeng's chest. You have to live up to those millions of lives. Xuemeng suddenly burst into tears in awe. Director, thank you for disregarding my father's interference and giving me such an important responsibility. I will work hard to live up to your expectations. Director Nangonglu gave him an approving look and encouraged, do well. He fled away, hiding his merits and fame. When Xiao Shui came home that day, he couldn't contain his excitement. Without telling his parents, he quietly ordered a batch of goods from Dobeo.com's Nightcat Cultivation Mall, including Violent DPS Crispy Fried Chicken, produced by Hanlin Pharmaceutical Factory. After eating it, you can get 10 times the mana for 1 hour, and it cannot be used in battle. Ergo Longevity Pill, produced by Yuhang Pharmaceutical Factory. It is useless to eat it after death. Yeota Pills, produced by the Buddhist Medicine Factory of Wuobei Temple. It can make one's own head shine brightly and guide the way for the companions in the dark. Promise White Crazy Pills, produced by Taxian June Pharmaceutical Factory. Eliminate the state of confusion. Ancestral Millennium Jujube Pill, produced by Tanlang Pharmaceutical Factory. It can only be used on the enemy. In this way, Xiao Xuemeng made perfect preparations and even dreamed that night that he had traveled to the Second World Cultivation War and sacrificed heroically to resist the black magic that swept across the European battlefield. With a sharp avadasam, he collapsed in a mysterious green light. But the next day, when Xuemeng hesitantly came to the office, he was stunned. This is my job. The sweet long-legged and big-breasted secretary sister poured him a cup of fragrant tea and said gently, yes, Mr. Xue, this is your job. Xuemeng came to his desk in disbelief, looking at the pile of Cultivation World's project approval reports. His mouth gradually became O-shaped. Tremblingly, he stretched out his hand and picked up the top stack of reports for a quick look. A line of bright red headlines came into view. The headlines were so confusing that ordinary people couldn't understand them. Illegal use of Gai Yuye's pig feed in Linyi Mortal Pig Farm, Shandong, Fairy Pig Feed Accountability Measures. What am I supposed to do with this? Xuemeng couldn't help but feel dizzy. But he still gritted his teeth and continued to read. Recently, the drug monitoring team received a report that a cultivator sold the expired fairy pig feed produced by Gai Yuye to mortal merchants through illegal channels, resulting in more than 8,000 bags of expired feed entering the market. At present, there are 3 pig farms that had purchased this feed. Having consumed the feed, the number of pigs involved in the case has reached 400 by the time of writing, and the situation is critical. Xuemeng. Another page was turned. The Livestock and Drug Administration Committee of the Cultivation World's opinion, send someone to buy back the contaminated pork and destroy it all. Cultivation World Mortal Committee's opinion, I second above opinion and arrest and interrogate the cultivators involved. Cultivation World Advocacy Committee's comments, I seconded the opinion and asked the News Network column team to conduct follow-up public relations work. Chairman of the Comprehensive Case Committee of the Cultivation Protection Bureau, empty. Xuemeng raised his head for unknown reasons. He poked the word empty in one hand and asked the smiling lady next to him, why is there no one here to write an opinion? The young lady smiled and explained patiently, I'm waiting for your seal. But I'm not. He looked down at the report and read, Chairman of the Comprehensive Case Committee of the Cultivation Protection Bureau. But when he looked up again and looked at Miss Secretary's affectionate eyes, he couldn't help hesitating and became bewildered. Am I The little sister pulled out a small brooch card from behind. The sign was printed with Xuemeng, chairman of the Comprehensive Case Committee. There was even a photo of Xuemeng's in it that he was most dissatisfied with. She put it on Xuemeng and smiled, "Now you are the honorable chairman, congratulations." And handed over 2 seals, one with a circle and one with a cross. This means agreed to cover the case, the other means deny the case. Sister Secretary smiled and said, "Please start working." Xuemeng's mouth opened and closed and opened again. He had a lot of things he wanted to say and a lot of cursed he wanted to spit out, but in the end, he swallowed and asked with difficulty, "Can I not choose?" The elder sister smiled and rolled her eyes, "Of course you can. Put both seal." Xuemeng felt so angry, "If I don't choose either one of them, how will I deal with it in the end? Leave it to the secretary, to the bureau director." Xuemeng became even weaker, "Then what do I need to do?" The elder sister said kindly, "Personally I suggest that you better only stamp 1 seal at a time." Xuemeng. And just like that, as the days went by, Xuemeng finally realized the art in Nangang Liu's speech at that time. This goddamn job made him live like a pile driver every day, circling or fiddling on different reports. This indeed require inhuman patience. Of course, this patience is not just about facing the boring work without going mental. A great portion of his patience went to restraining himself every day so as to convince himself not to rush to Nangang Liu's office and strangle the director's reproductive organs. Although Director Nangang had not lied to him, he did have to decide the fate of thousands of lives. Just look at these reports. Report on the approval of construction of exclusive chicken farm for violent DPS crispy chicken. Report on the perfection of gourd baby specially approved after the founding of the People's Republic of China. Report on the acceptance of the black cat chief officers after the establishment of the country. Gai Ye, retired sect leader application, I really want to live another 500 years. Butterfly-boned beauty seed research group, an advocate to call cultivators carrying the butterfly-boned beauty seeds genes to donate sperm for human devil genetic engineering. Isn't it a job that takes hundreds of millions of lives every minute? Xuemeng raised his small cross stamp with a sullen face and slammed it on the sperm donation proposal. He felt a sense of righteousness that he had saved countless lives and remarked grimly, "No one wants to shoot in a cup and have it frozen." Denied. He admitted that he was venting his grievances, but he hoped that this kind of nonsense would be intolerable to the director. It would be best if this would get him a transfer to the front line and let him go to the mortal world to slay demons or something. It was a pity that the director was as stable as a rock and did not scold Chairman Xue for this. On the contrary, during a party, Xuemeng heard that the secretary of the director, Miss Ye Wangzi, had to work overtime until the early morning because of these pranks. "If you let your daughter-in-law work overtime again, I will quit tomorrow." Halfway across the corridor, the director's son Nangang Si could be heard slapping the table and stomping his feet. Xuemeng shrank his neck guiltily, and after a while, he decided to face these reports seriously. Just like this, several months passed. He was getting faster and faster in stamping and almost forgetting his original aspirations when he first graduated. Nangang Lu had been suspended from his position and had lost his iron bowl of rice because he had accepted bribes from demons. The new director is here. Director Zhang Shi was swift and resolute as he looked over all the positions very quickly. Only when he got into the position of Xuemeng that it took him an hour to understand what it was for. Bureau Chief Jiang's brain could not be blamed for this. It was because the way Nangang Lu packaged Xuemeng's position was very frightening. Director Zhang had to remove the wrapping paper for a long time, layer by layer, before he finally realized what was inside. It was a farce. In short, Xuemeng's position was practically useless. Even Xiao Litzi, who had been slacking off in the cafeteria instead of washing vegetables, had done more meaningful work than him. Director Zhang could not tolerate such a position, so he decided to abolish the position of chairman of the Comprehensive Case Committee and find some other work for Xuemeng. He spent about a week observing the idea and finally made a decision, and thus the opening scene appeared. Mission report, Mr. Schwett. Cough, I arrived at the office at 8:20 today and I was not late. I packed some of Master Lee's fried rice in the morning. It's delicious. I suggest you all try it when you have time. The key is that the old man who sells the fried rice is kind and nice. He can praise people. He could even call a 60-year-old aunt, little sister with a shameless face. After eating the fried rice, I will start to stamp. There was a sudden hissing current in the headset. Then, Jiangxi's channel cut in and the cold AI sound effect disappeared, replaced by the voice of Director Jiang, who was more inhumane than that of an AI. From today on, you don't need to stamp your seal. Get off work early today and come to my office tomorrow, I have an important job for you. Jiangxi paused and said without any inflection, remember to bring me some of Master Lee's fried rice and don't forget the vinegar. Shuemeng. End chapter. Dumb Husky and his white cat Shizun. Extra chapters. Modern setting. Only possibility. Part 2, now turning to spoof. The next day, Shuemeng went to Director Jiang's office. After listening to the entire task, he deliberated about it and realized that this time he was assigned a job similar to that of a pimp. Shuemeng was very angry. Why am I not stamping on the sperm donation report, or looking for a way out for the birth of a new life? You should leave this kind of thing to Jiawen or Lilium Net. What are you asking me for? Director Jiang was eating fried buns in an astonishing speed while surprisingly maintaining his beautiful appearance. I told you for the third time, you are not pimping, you are shining light for the genetic engineering of the cultivation research group. After eating the last bun, he slowly wiped his lips with a handkerchief and then raised his eyes. Listen carefully, the abnormal movements of the demons over the past few hundred years have become more and more obvious. There will be another fierce battle. We need the most powerful resources. To put it bluntly, you want the descendants of the butterfly-boned beauty feast to reproduce. Shuemeng rolled his eyes. Jiangxi didn't mind the wordings and agreed, yes, that's it. But the special kind of butterfly-boned beauty feast has not appeared for a long time and the only lead you have is a guy named Mo Ran. That's right. And you need that guy to produce babies. Exactly. The disgust on Shuemeng's face is clearly visible, but that guy is gay. Jiangxi added lightly, very gay. Shuemeng gritted his teeth and said, that's why you've had people spent more than 10 years developing a virtual game called Destiny Jump Dash. Jumper. Jiangxi corrected expressionlessly, and strictly speaking, it can't be called a game. I don't care if it's a jumping machine or a jumper machine. Shuemeng finally couldn't help roaring, in short, you want me to use that game to simulate fate and find ways to correct a gay man's sexual orientation in the life of Mo Ran. Just like those character development games that can save and read files, introduce him to girls with big breasts and long thighs and let them have children. Jiangxi interrupted him again, and the director of the bureau stretched out his finger and shook it as he commented, big chest and long thighs are not indicators of fertility. It's huge butts. Shuemeng's earth-shattering roar came from the director's office, isn't this a mother-in-law's job? Calm down. The Destiny Jumper machine just simulates various possibilities. To put it bluntly, it is a test version. Jiangxi took a sip of tea. The bureau will collect your test results and finally formulate a real practical plan. I refuse. Relax, young man. Director Jiang ignored his refusal, just treat yourself as a beta tester in the development of a game. I said I refused. Do you need to go to the otolaryngology department for a hearing test, sir? Unfortunately, the director was very stubborn, so Shuemeng still had to accept this task in the end. Of course, Director Jiang is not so unreasonable. He kindly arranged a game deputy for Shuemeng, which is a talking little paper dragon. Assistant, staff officer, guides, toy, summoned beast, Dog-head military strategist. Jiang Shi held the RU porcelain teacup and said leisurely, whatever you want to call it. It is yours now and it will enter the simulation game together with you and give you advice along the way. After finishing speaking and despite Xuemeng's protests, he waved his hand and said, go on and start, newbie. What did you call me? Director Zhang didn't intend to pay him any attention anymore. With a wave of the director's hand, the newbie was forced into the operating room to put on a series of equipment and started his mission. After spinning for some moment, Xuemeng arrived at the first world. He had seen people who forbids youngsters to play games, but he had never seen anyone who forced youngsters to play games. However, since Jiang Shi said that this was a mission, he might as well finish it as early as possible. Xuemeng turned his head with a dark face and found that the little paper dragon was lying on his shoulder and on its short dragon claws were holding a task guide. He looked at it and exclaimed, oh, oh 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 oh. Shut up. He said in a vicious voice, are you a goose? Of course I'm not, this venerable one is the candle dragon who split the world in half, very omniscient. Said the little paper dragon as it slapped its dragon's tail to Xuemeng's face, go this way. Xuemeng glanced at the direction it pointed. It was a small dilapidated dark alley. There were various advertisements for psoriasis pasted on the outside. There were some fluids of unknown composition on the ground, such as the leaking of garbage bags and the splashing of spittoon cans. A mix of things flowing out. Xuemeng lifted his feet firmly and moved in the opposite direction. Hey, where are you going? I'm going to a cleaner path. The little paper dragon was angry, do you think this venerable one wanted to choose this road? It said and slapped the task guide on the tip of Xuemeng's nose, look at it yourself. It is written on it, walk 200 meters into this alley and find a noodle shop. Then you will see Mo Ran who is currently in elementary school. Xuemeng took over the task guide and glanced at it suspiciously. However, what the dragon said was true. He had to return the guide to Xiao Long with a livid face, gritted his teeth and held his breath, then strode into the darkness. Although he felt that he was going crazy, he still followed the guide and walked out of the alley, turned left and the road gradually became more spacious and cleaner. Yes. It's the front. Look at that come to the noodle shop again sign. Xiao Long danced excitedly while waving its claws. Xuemeng couldn't help but be glad that because of the spell, people in this virtual world could not see them, otherwise it would be very embarrassing. They quickly found the elementary school student Mo Ran among the diners. It has to be said that Mo Ran was very recognizable. He was carrying a tattered school bag and wearing a pair of shoddy sneakers. His dark, greasy hair looked like it hasn't been washed for days and his bangs hanged limply in front of his eyes. Although Xuemeng is still far away from him, he was certain that Mo Ran smelled very rancid. This was because no customers are willing to sit in the seats around him. What a malnourished little dirty dog. Xuemeng commented while touching his chin. He will be very handsome when he grows up. Xiao Long reminded him. Then why are we looking for Mo Ran, who is currently in primary school? Xuemeng said, just find the adult handsome him and stuff a yin-yang fusion powder into his mouth. Then catch a girl and throw them into the dark room, wouldn't that be enough? The small paper dragon looked at him with disdain, big brother, we are from the Cultivation Bureau, not the Yihong Courtyard. Besides, the Cultivation Bureau ordered to ban the use of this kind of illegal drug. You must let Mo Ran willingly fall in love with a girl and marry her and have children. It would be best to cultivate feelings from childhood. Xiao Long said while trying to find corroborating evidence in the task guide, and what was even worse was that he actually found it. Haha. As this venerable one just said, this venerable one is an omnipotent candle dragon. Look, there are even recommended targets here. Is that the cheat sheet Jiang Shi gave you? Having said that, Xuemeng still pulled the guide back with a look of disgust. He smoothed out the crumpled paper pinched by Xiao Long and squinted to take a closer look under the dim streetlight. Heck, it really was a list of a dozen female targets for Mo Ran. Target 1, Wang Xiaomi. How to make friends. Please cast a spell to make the dog owned by the daughter of the noodle restaurant named Wang K turn rabid and bite Mo Ran, who was eating noodles in the restaurant. At this time, a car would pass by and the owner of the car would kindly send Mo Ran to the hospital. Wang Xiaomi is the daughter of the owner of the car. She was 1 year younger than Mo Ran and will be in 3rd grade of primary school. They will meet in the car and become childhood sweethearts. Xuemeng's face was full of anger. What the fuck? He continued to read the guide. Target 2, Li Dami. How to make friends. Please cast a spell to make Wang K in the noodle shop suddenly die dash. This won't do. Xuemeng, who had long stamped the pig farm and chicken farm case, actually had some compassion for animals. His conscience made him exercise his veto power, but his curiosity still drove him to read it. After Wang K died violently, the daughter of the noodle shop owner will come out to touch the corpse and cry. Her cry will attract her little friend Li Dami, and Mo Ran will meet the 2 little girls tonight. Then why not just directly meet the noodle shop owner's daughter? Hearing Xuemeng's muttering, the little paper dragon flicked his face with his tail and pointed forward with the tip of his tail towards the daughter of the owner of the restaurant. She was 3 times as big as Mo Ran and her eyes were narrowed slit. She was wearing green safflower long johns while squatting at the door while picking her feet and chewing garlic. Xuemeng, I understand. If it is the daughter of the owner of the noodle restaurant, it will probably push Mo Ran to the bosom of gayness more thoroughly. Alright, the work was not pleasant, but since he has taken on this job, he had to settle the matter properly. This is how a good leader should be, this is how a good cultivator should be. So, although Comrade Xiao Shui kept complaining, he still carefully read about the dozen or so female targets. The person who compiled this list is probably an idiot who was bored to death. He wrote all the little girls' height, weight, interests, and hobbies on it, and even attached a 2-inch head photo to each of them. With his straight male aesthetic, Xuemeng fell in love with a little girl named Zhao Wumi. Oh, this name sounds like it has a slim chance of winning. Xiao Long sighed. What do you know? She looks cute. She'll definitely be a beauty in the future. Xuemeng is very confident in his aesthetics. If we choose her, then Mo Ran will definitely not become bend. That's what you said. So, 1 person and 1 dragon began to carefully operate according to the strategy tips on the task guide. In order to trigger the Zhao Wumi's meeting event, you have to wait until Mo Ran finished his noodles. Then walk 2 blocks forward before starting the rain. This way, Mo Ran will run under the nearest roof to shelter from the rain as he has no umbrella. At this time, he will hear the cries of a little girl coming from the back street. It sounds like a ghost story. Nonsense, it's obviously a story of a hero saving the beauty. Xiao Long snorted. Look, the guide said that Mo Ran would go over to check the situation after hearing the cry and found that Zhao Wumi was being bullied by a group of schoolgirls. Mo Ran will help her out and then they will get to know each other. Following Xiao Long, Xuemeng went to make sure that Zhao Wumi would be surrounded by a group of bullies. Everything went smoothly until the leader of the female bullies picked up a brick and smashed it into Mo Ran's head. The heroic youth crumpled down onto the street. Xuemeng. Xiao Long. Xuemeng asked what happened to being a special kind of butterfly-boned beauty feast. Just this much combat power? You got to be kidding me. Xiao Long, probably too young to activate. Amidst the thunder and lightning, Mo Ran fell into the rain with blood gushing out of his forehead. When the leader of the bullies saw it, she screamed, "Mother, I've killed someone." She then hurriedly told her lackeys to scatter, but the worst one was Zhao Wumi. As she shakily got up from the ground, she saw Mo Ran's prone form and mistaken it for a corpse in the rainstorm. She was so frightened that she screamed and got scared out of her wits as she ran as fast as she could, leaving her savior behind. Xuemeng and Xiao Long squatted next to the unconscious Mo Ran and looked at each other. What do we do now? Rescue him. But we can't directly affect the people in this world. Xuemeng was shocked as he said, then are we just leaving him to bleed to death like this? Aya, this is a simulation game anyways and it's not a real time travel. If he die, then he'll die. Xiao Long spoke in a muffled voice. Victory and defeat are normal in a war. Young hero, please start over again. Although what he said was correct, Xuemeng was still very angry. He held the guide up and his anger was evident on every pale blue vein of his eyelashes. This guide is a cheat, right? We did everything in accordance to its instructions. How could things still go wrong? Xiao Long hesitated for a moment but still pointed his sharp dragon claw at the small line of words behind the cover of the guide. The instructions provided in this book was obtained by the calculation algorithm of the big stick of fate, which is unstable. Follow at your own risk. Xuemeng paused for a few seconds before he roared up to the sky, fuck you, Jiangxi. But fucking Uncle Jiangxi is the director of the bureau, and since this Destiny Jumper is a simulation game, they also needed to collect data on various emergencies. The most important thing at the moment was to protect Mo Ran, whose little brain was bleeding out. Xuemeng and Xiao Long thought of different ways, trying to make kind-hearted people notice that in this dark corner, there is a child who needed warm care. They overturned trash cans to block pedestrians' paths and cast spells to let wildcats grab the pants of the passers-by in their jaws, but it only resulted with the passers-by cursing trash cans and neurotic cats. It was late at night and people were rushing home, and no one would pay attention to this inconspicuous deserted path. Wanning, you wait here. Suddenly, a mother and son came around the corner. The mother was young and beautiful, wrapped in a long camel-colored cashmere coat. The son only reached her knees, holding a white umbrella with a big cat printed on it. The rain and the night soaked his long coat. When the wind picked up, the child seemed to be a little afraid of the cold, and shrank his delicate and fair face into the cashmere scarf, revealing only half of his face. Mom is going to the opposite side to deal with some work. You stand here and don't run around. I'll be right back. The child nodded quietly and obediently. The fur hat on his head slid down diagonally, covering half of his eyes. Good, good, good. This little brat will do. Cast another spell and make the wildcat go out and grab at his pants leg. The little dragon was extremely excited. Xuemeng did not need to be told a second time. This time, it went even more smoothly than before. The child quickly noticed this place and was led over by the wildcat. When he looked down and found Mo Ran lying on the ground, he called out, "Hey, are you okay?" At that time, Xuemeng and Xiao Long, of course others couldn't see them, couldn't help but let out a long sigh. Thank goodness. We're saved. There is true love in the world. The two of them wiped their sweat. Xuemeng watched the little boy anxiously run across the road to find his mother and took out the shitty little task guide and said, I would like to see what happened after this Zhao Wumi incident. As if the task guide understood what he said, it automatically flipped through several pages and finally stopped on a certain page in the back. The pages of paper shone with golden light, the scene around them distorted and changed, and when everything was restored, they had already arrived 20 years later. Xiao Long yelled at him, "Ah! Oi! What did you do?" "I just said it casually." Xuemeng was also a little embarrassed. "I didn't expect this guide to send us directly to see the results 20 years later." Xiao Long. Xuemeng was stunned, but since this is the case, it means that the Zhao Wumi incident we've just instigated did have an impact on Mo Ran's future, otherwise the guide will not bring us here. Xiao Long puffed out his cheeks angrily for a long time, and finally sighed, "You're right, this should be the change we made in the simulation. Let's go and see the outcome." They walked forward and found that it was the same old road 20 years ago, except that the surrounding buildings were more dilapidated and there was no major change. It's just that every shop along the way has a big red paint on the outside of the word demolition, and there are no people walking along the way, which looks very depressing. This area is going to be leveled next month. Suddenly, Xuemeng heard a low and gentle male voice coming from the narrow alley on the left, with a smile. I'm a little sad about it. Me, too. The other man's voice was calm. After all, it's a place where I used to come often. Haha, more importantly, I met you here. The light voice laughed. At that time, your entire body was covered in mud and you still have the nerve to say it. The voices gradually died down and in the end, the only sound that came from the dark corner was the wet and lingering sound of kissing and the slightly heavy breathing of the two men. Xuemeng and Xiaolong was stunned as they looked at the two handsome and tall men hugging and kissing in the road. Even after 20 years, their childish faces could still be vaguely recognized. So. Xiaolong trembled. Mo ran. Xuemeng said with difficulty, swallowing. Become gay. One person and one dragon said in unison, then turned their heads to look at each other and cried out miserably. And it was all thanks to us. Xiaolong was not reconciled and shouted, it's mainly your fault. Who told you to cast a spell and let the little wildcat guide the way for this wanning? Xuemeng didn't expect it to shirk responsibility and immediately retorted angrily, it's my fault. It was you who created the torrential rain causing Mo Ran's hair to be glued to his eyes and thus didn't see the brick that hit his head. It's your fault. It was you who picked the target Zhao Wu Mi in the task guide. Look, what a wise choice you've made. It's your fault. You didn't show me the small print at the end of this guide in advance. You are a selfish little faulty dragon. It's your fault. You are blind. It's your fault. You are so annoying. It's your fault. Your fault. Your fault. As the two staff of the Time and Space Bureau were arguing, Mo Ran and Chu Wanning had come out of the dark alley. Their fingers were intertwined as they recalled the 20 years they had known each other while walking through this old street that was about to be demolished. Looking at the backs of the two of them, Xuemeng held Xiaolong's head and snarled hysterically, it's all your fault. However, no matter what the ruckus was, the mission still has to continue. If a strategy is not successful, then another has to be formulated. There are so many girls in the world. There should be one who can be introduced to Mo Ran to get married with and have children. Come on. How could there only be one ending in this simulation game? Fueled with anger and ambition, the two staff members switched the route of the Destiny Jumper machine after encouraging themselves, and arrived at the branch point of the game. It's not that damn route this time. After Xuemeng steadied himself in this world, he looked around. It seemed we had been sent to a school gymnasium. End chapter.